Thanks so much for being here today. Thanks for the warm welcome. Let's do this thing. So I'm just thrilled to be here with you today, learning with and from all of you, both the presenters and the folks in the hallway track. So before I get started, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone, to the lead dev, Austin, and all of our sponsors and staff who are making this amazing event possible, and to each of you for being here. It's an absolute pleasure, and I already feel like a winner, baby. So about Austin, this is not only a city of bats, but and live music capital of the world, shout out. But you also really love movies. Has anyone been to one of the Alamo Draft Houses yet? Super sweet experience. There's also a burgeoning film industry, so I thought in the spirit of that, why not have a little film thing going on in my slides today? I hope you appreciate it. I hope you see one of your favorites. These are a lot of my favorites. So let's get started. So I am Director of Engineering at Juice Analytics, in addition to being Director of Advancement for Django. At Juice, though, I manage directly 6 engineers, and I support our CTO in providing engineering leadership to the whole organization. I am a developer. I was an individual contributor before I started this job. And at this company, I lead our platform and services team. That team works directly on our core product, Juicebox, which is a next-level, next-generation platform for building what we call data stories. So our product lets our users display reports and dashboards as more kind of guided stories where you can ask questions and walk through. It's a really cool experience, and it's a different way of interacting with data that's more accessible to more people. We also make it easy for the direct users to share and discuss their data findings, as well as turn their data insights into business action. So it's a really cool space to be in. I'm enjoying it. So I'm here to talk about one-on-ones. One-on-ones are scheduled yet informal regular meetings between a manager and her or his direct report. Clicker. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You've seen the schedule, and you're like, this is the only talk explicitly about one-on-ones. I bet she has really great one-on-ones. And you wouldn't be wrong. I do have great one-on-ones. Sometimes. Often. Usually. I think. Wait a second. Before we start evaluating whether or not I have good one-on-ones or not, let's try to define it, set some criteria for success. So what are one-on-ones? Like I said, scheduled yet informal regular meetings between a manager and her or his direct report. It's dedicated space on the calendar for open-ended and anticipated conversation. Unlike status reports or tactical meetings, the one-on-one meeting is a place for coaching, mentoring, giving context about how decisions were made, and even venting. Lots and lots of venting. The one-on-one goes beyond the open door policy and dedicates time on a regular schedule that both of you can anticipate for reports and managers to meaningfully connect. Rogers and Hammerstein's nuns asked, how do you solve a problem like Maria? And I'm here wondering, how do you evaluate one-on-ones? How do you know if your one-on-ones are making a difference, if they're effective, if they're worth both of your precious engineering time? Well, to start, are you having them? I wanted to get a read of the room. How many of you are actually having one-on-ones already, either administering or participating in them? Great, okay, so a lot of you, not everyone. I'm glad those of you who are having them are. Hopefully today you're going to learn on both sides, as the report and the one offering the one-on-ones, how to make them better. And are you not? Not everyone in here is doing one-on-ones right now for whatever reasons, but you're in the right place too, because you're going to learn how to do them, why to do them, and you're going to get super pumped. So my talk is kind of preciously named The Team-Changing Magic of One-on-Ones. It's inspired by that really popular book by Marie Kondo, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which is about changing your life by changing your housekeeping. As you're about to hear, the regular practice of one-on-ones will change your team dynamics for the better. You'll get ahead of issues before they become real problems. You'll work with your directs to help them do more of what they do best. And ultimately, if you're like us at Juice, you may reap the rewards in more releases, more often, of better features with fewer bugs, y'all. How about that? So today's presentation hinges on a key idea. I borrowed this sparks joy language from Marie Kondo. We want to ask what sparks joy in your direct? What's freeing them up to do the work they do best? One-on-ones are an ideal place for you to get meaningful insight on two questions. What's really going well? And what's really going off the rails? In one-on-ones where trust is present, you're going to hear stuff. If they're going really well, you're going to hear a lot of stuff. And it might feel overwhelming at first. You might ask yourself, are things really this bad? I know when I joined my organization and I started doing one-on-ones with my CTO who had never done them before, he definitely felt like, dang girl, is it really this bad? Well, that's one way of looking at it. Because the one-on-ones are where you're going to hear about broken processes, the why hasn't this already been automated away laments, and the personal injuries, the drama. Do you love drama? I mean, I love that kind of drama. Give me some Mean Girls any day. But I do not love, as a manager, that whole, I can't believe he said that in a meeting. There is no way I'm going to approve that PR. If he thinks I'm going to merge that, he's got another thing coming. Oh, I don't like that kind of drama. But remarkably, that's exactly the sort of thing you want to hear in the one-on-one. Because in the one-on-one, you actually have a chance to do something productive with that. One of my favorite things about one-on-ones is how they let you bypass all that team drama that can come out when you really don't want it to come out, because you get to work it out in the one-on-one. And let's be real, y'all, every engineering group I've been associated with has had drama at some point. Your team probably has some drama you don't know about. What makes for a more rewarding team culture is how it gets handled. And one-on-ones can help with that. So here are a couple of quotes that I really love from Michael Lopp, who I believe is still the VP of Engineering at Slack. In his essay, The Update, the Event, and the Disaster, I'm not going to read these, speaker best practice, but I do want you to take a moment to give him a read and think about what he's saying here. Your reward for a culture of healthy one-on-ones is a distinct lack of drama, because one-on-ones are the time to get ahead of problems, to find out what's really going on, and to proactively make a plan to address the issues before they get out of hand. I love the sound of a distinct lack of drama. This is another way I like to think about one-on-ones. 45 minutes of 40 hours. Now let's be real, very few of us actually work 40 hours. But if we're gonna go with that as our metric of a normal work week, which probably none of us do, your direct reports give your organization all of their work hours every week. You set every agenda for them, you make every ask, you drive every bus. These are the 45 minutes that you give back. They're the 45 minutes when they set the agenda, they make the asks, they drive that bus. And we listen, and we change to meet what they need. One-on-ones are special places where you get to hear the stuff that's hard to talk about in the open. If you're using your one-on-one to talk about the stuff you could easily discuss in public, in a group Slack channel, an update on a ticket, you're wasting your time. You're wasting their time. You can take what you learn in the one-on-one outside of that meeting to automate processes and plan future projects differently, but that's not the point of the one-on-one. It's the time to be more thoughtful, more deliberate, and discuss the more challenging stuff, like how your direct wants to grow. If they've been there a few years, why are they still there? Are they planning on sticking around? How that last project really went. What's frustrating about work recently? And yeah, how you could be a better boss. It's an open-ended meeting about feelings. That can be scary. And that fear can take many forms. It doesn't often take this dog form, though it could. It takes these forms. It can be the fear of the unknown. What are they going to say? It can be the fear of discomfort. We're pleasure-seeking creatures, right? We run towards pleasure and we run away from pain. One-on-ones seem uncomfortable. What if they say something that makes us feel bad? It can be the fear of being vulnerable. What if we do this and it becomes very rapidly obvious that I have no idea what I'm doing, I have no idea what they're doing, I don't even know what Terraform is, I'm gonna look really bad. And it could be a fear of screwing up. What if I lose legitimacy in their eyes? Fear may be the most, I think the principal reason really that many managers delay on starting one-on-ones or why they struggle when they actually have them. But let's face it, you don't know what they're going to say ever. I've had a one-on-one where my direct came in and gave his notice. I didn't really know. It was hard, but we faced it. You're probably gonna be uncomfortable. And yeah, they're gonna say something that makes you evaluate how you're leading and managing. It's just gonna happen. And you don't know everything about what they do all day anyway, so why pretend? They're engineers. They're super freaking smart, and they can see right through you anyway, so just be honest. And you're not perfect, and they don't expect you to be. I think a lot of us struggle with setting a really, really high bar for ourselves. But your directs just expect you to try your best every day for them. A lot of the times they just want you to get the heck out of the way and show up when they really need you. They don't think you're going to be perfect. So, like the Ghostbusters, let's face it. Let's have that moment, that initial moment of running away screaming. But then let's come back, let's regroup, let's build our amazing proton pack to capture all of those fears. And let's just go for it, y'all. That's what I had to do. I had all of these fears and more when I started doing one-on-ones as a manager. They were compounded by the fact that I was new to the organization and the team. I'd just come from another shop where we had a healthy culture of one-on-ones, and I had a great boss, a great engineering manager, a great VP of engineering, great director of engineering. We all had buy-in to one-on-ones, and we had great ones. But at that time, I was just an individual contributor. I was just a full-stack engineer writing code every day. I didn't manage anyone. Here I was being promoted into this role where I'm leading a team. And they were mostly seniors. And I knew that one-on-ones were the right thing to do. And even though I was super nervous, I scheduled my one-on-ones my first week there. I started on the first of the month and scheduled my one-on-ones right away. Didn't know these people. I was really scared. So I tried to prepare myself by reading tons of management books. I read Radical Candor, Managing Humans, The Manager's Path, so many others. Ever the good student, I brought this little framework with me. It was like my comfort blanket. I was like, I know I had these questions. If it goes really off the rails, I can return to one of these, bring it back. It helped me feel a little bit more confidence, a little bit more sense of control. But y'all, I talked way too much. I smiled way too much. I'm just so glad to be here, y'all. I admitted that I was super nervous to them. I was like, this is my first time leading a one-on-one, but I did it anyway. So, do any of you congratulate yourself with a little gift when you do something really cool? I do that. It's always really small, but it's symbolic. And for me, when I landed this great job as director of engineering, I bought myself a tank top that had this emblazoned on the front of it. I can't do this, but I'm doing it anyway. And I wore it while I was lifting at the gym and trying not to freak out about all the ways I was about to screw up this amazing engineering team that I was about to start leading. Things are actually going great. And I think that they're great in part because of this attitude. While I was asking myself, who am I to be leading this team, to be doing one-on-ones with seniors, I countered it with, I can't do this, but I'm doing it anyway. I knew the best practices, I'd done my reading, I had my framework, I had the mandate, and it was go time. And my first weeks of one-on-ones were super awkward, but after a while they became less so. I kept trying, even when I felt like I couldn't, and eventually it got easier. Just like the Ghostbusters, jumped right in. I didn't let my fears of awkwardness or inadequacy or losing my legitimacy literally right away. Like I am their new boss. I didn't let that stop me from doing what I knew was the right thing. And now I have some stories to tell you about how to have great one-on-ones of your own. So the rest of the talk is going to be roughly structured in two ways. How you know when your one-on-ones are going well, and I think regardless of whether you're a manager or you're a direct or you're both, you can get some lessons. So let's do it. Let's just jump right in. Okay, so how do you know they're going well? Let's get the basics out of the way first. You want to be meeting regularly. I think once a week is ideal, but every other week can be okay too if you never miss a meeting. If you're doing the every other week cadence and you skip one or something gets canceled, you're putting yourself much further out, and at that point it's pretty useless and unhealthy. Just as long as it's consistent. And pro tip, try to schedule your one-on-ones at a day when you have really good energy, a time of day when you have really good energy. So I'm more of a morning person. So I think my directs get the best version of Adrienne when we have our one-on-ones in the morning. Ideal scenario, you sync for both of you and you have the same time of day, but at least try to give them the best you. As for timing, I think 45 minutes is ideal. In my experience, it usually takes about 10 or 15 minutes for people to ease on into it, and that leaves a good 30 for the heart of the matter. You also don't want your reports to feel pressured. If you really get rolling on something, you want to feel like they have enough time to actually talk about it. So another way you know they're going well, they stay informal, they stay casual, but you talk about things that actually matter with specifics. So how do we get to specifics? We can ask questions. We can ask good, open-ended questions. Here are a few I like. Start the meeting. How are you? How are things going? What was hard this week? How can I help? Open-ended questions just get you both going. You're trying to find your way together while letting them lead. Open-ended questions help you get going, and they also propel you forward because they give you some content. So another way you know it's going well, you talk about what is going well in their work life, but if you ask them directly what is not going well, they will give you an answer of substance. An answer of substance might look like complaining to you, venting to you, telling you how they really feel, getting it off their chest, being specific. We want to head off the drama. We don't want any fighting in the war room, one of my personal favorites. If you ask them, what is seriously frustrating you at work right now, and they give you an answer with detail and specifics, you're on the right track. The reason you can know that you're on the right track is because they feel safe to tell you how they really feel and not just what they think you want to hear as the boss. And for many people, I've found just getting a chance to talk about what's really bothering them leads to a huge feeling of relief. I actually developed this kind of code with one of my seniors where they would come in and they would be ready for the vent, and they would say, I'm just going to talk at you for a little while, and I don't want you to take any action. Be like, okay, cool. I'm glad we had that relationship where you can come in and say, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to listen to me for a little while. He blew the steam off, got back to work. No big. So another way you know your one-on-ones are going well is that you give them your undivided attention, just like you're all giving me. This look takes focus, y'all. And your direct deserves the same. Put your phone away, mute your notifications, just for that time together. Giving your report your undivided attention can be more of a challenge, I've found, when your direct is remote. A lot of my team is remote. And so that means that this same screen I'm using for my one-on-ones is the same one where Slack and lots of other stuff is. You know what? As a manager, you probably already have some emergency system set up, like PagerDuty or text, if something goes really wrong. So just close Slack during your one-on-ones. It's fine. Another way you know they're going well is if you have the right attitude. This is their time. So my CTO has gotten really good at this for our one-on-ones. He will literally say at the start of our one-on-ones, this is your time. And it's a really nice kind of cue to both of us that this is my time, and it gets us started on the right foot. So remember what we said about 45 minutes of 40 hours earlier? The one-on-ones truly are their time, and sometimes their only time. They're just this little time that they get with you each week. And it may be the most important chance you get this week to hear what's really going on from the person most equipped to tell you. See where they're at emotionally, if they had any frustrations or wins in the last week or the last sprint. Pamper them a little, y'all. They keep your ship afloat, so they deserve that good treatment. So let's move on to some ideas about how you can know if they are off the rails. To start, you can't remember what you talked about last week, and even worse, was I supposed to do something for you? Did you need something? I'm sorry, I feel like you asked me for... I get it. I am a super busy manager too, but we're not fooling anyone when we come in unprepared. One way I set myself up for success is by having a shared Google Doc where we track our goals and commitments to one another. So a question that I'll ask in my one-on-one is, what is one thing you can hold me, your manager, accountable for between now and when we meet next week? And they usually say something. I want you to learn more about this repo. I want you to check on the status of this proposal to attend a conference. I want you to gather some information for me. They give me something actionable, and it feels really good when I can come back and say, hey, I learned about that thing. Let's talk about it. You can also ask, and this is optional, if there's anything that they want to be held accountable for. Every report is different. I have a report who really wants me to drive him real hard. Every stand-up, if he says something that doesn't make sense, he wants me to call him on it and say that, you know what, that did not make any sense. You need to clear that up. And then I have another report who just kind of wants me to be there for them when they need me. and they expect me to show up hard when they need me, but for the most part, they just kind of want to be left alone. So ask this question optionally and gauge, if they find it useful. So another warning sign that your one-on-ones are off track: you're always late, or you're always canceling, and you always have some reason, and I'm sure it sounded great at the time. But being late and canceling your one-on-one sends the wrong message. Being late for your one-on-ones, saying, just 5 more minutes, this meeting ran over, just 10 more minutes, actually, can we reschedule to tomorrow? It sends the message that your report doesn't matter, that their time is not important, that their expectations and schedule can be manipulated at your whim or based on your schedule. So make one-on-one time that is protected and prioritized. Try not to overbook yourself and leave being late for the true emergencies. It's also an issue if your report is regularly canceling with you. I think it could be a sign that they don't see the point of the meetings, they don't understand their value. So if you see this as a trend in your organization, consider dedicating some separate time, maybe a lunch and learn, maybe some team training time to talk about, why we as an organization have decided that one-on-ones between a manager and a report are valuable, how we sort of want them to go, and what we hope to get out of them. Maybe that'll help. So another way that you can tell if they're off track, which will put you off track as well, is when they're all smiles. How many people have seen Labyrinth? You remember the Fireys? They don't mean to deceive or lead astray with their gorgeous smiles and their high energy, and they're taking their heads off and throwing them around, but they totally do. And if your report is all smiles, they will deceive you as well. One of the reasons one-on-ones are so effective is because they help you identify those issues early, and if you're not hearing about issues, you're not getting that benefit. So why aren't they talking to you about where they're struggling? Have you asked them? It's okay to ask what was hard this past week. It's okay to ask, how are you struggling? What sucks here? It's okay. One last way you know your one-on-ones are off track: your report focuses on status updates. And we've got everybody's favorite boss. One-on-ones are not for status reports or for any information that could be retrieved by checking Jira or asking in Slack or looking in some public forum. Asking them about stuff that you can find and read in a public place sends another wrong message. They're engineers. They're smart, busy people, right? I think being asked those kinds of status questions kind of trigger a, let me Google that for you, Mr. Manager, attitude in them. But the power dynamic is there, right? They feel like they have to answer you, even though you've asked them a dumb question, because you're the boss. And that feeling coerced, like they have to, undermines building trust and teamwork, which is what you want. So that's it for going well and off the rails for now. If you'd like to talk about more ways you can know they're going well or off the rails, let's talk on Twitter. I'd love to hear your examples. But to wrap up today, I want to share a few of the ways we at Juice think that they've helped us be a more high-performing engineering team. In short, we believe the regular practice of one-on-ones has helped us release more often, higher quality features that people actually use with fewer bugs. Does that sound good? Let's look at some charts. So we've got 2 charts here. The top one is patches versus release date, and the bottom one is important features, fixes, behind-the-scenes improvements, and feature misses. So the early part of the chart on both charts shows a pattern, if you can call it that, of irregular releases, lots of patches, lots of fixes, fewer important features. Down on the bottom, we see more of this red feature misses, stuff we built that nobody ended up using. And the latter part of the chart shows more regular releases, fewer patches, more valuable features, and at least right now we don't have any data, or we haven't yet built anything that our users are not actually actively using. So that's certainly a good feeling. So my question to you, our organization only started doing one-on-ones at some point in this period. If you had to guess when, where would you put that? The CTO, my boss, actually made these charts, so I have the legitimacy there. Yep, right there in the middle, y'all. So when we take both of these charts together, it looks like we're doing a better job of delivering valuable features. The stuff we've landed is more important, it's bigger, it's less in need of fixing, and it just so happens that this aligns with when we started doing one-on-ones. So that feels real good. So at Juice, we've found that one-on-ones give us a more connected team doing better work and faster, and I ask you, who doesn't want that? One-on-ones make a real difference. If you have questions about the practice, want to keep the conversation going, want some help, want to vent to me, just get at me on Twitter. I'm here to help. Thanks.
Very much.